Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh, my gosh. 1930 census says Tommy's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either.
Tomi Lahren had some sharp words for Sunny Hostin during a recent exchange, and the internet is still buzzing about it.
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking.
If you expected a typical panel discussion, this wasn't it. Things got intense fast, and Sunny Hostin clearly wasn't prepared for the heat.
Found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German. Okay. And really what she did is prove that my family came here.
Tomi didn't just clap back.
Tomi Lahren didn't just respond. She completely changed the tone of the conversation. Sunny Hostin was caught off guard when Tomi brought up specific examples that hit hard. What she revealed pointed to what many are calling clear contradictions in liberal arguments. The exchange was full of unexpected turns and stirred up plenty of online reaction. It's the kind of moment that keeps people talking.
What she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration. Again, she failed miserably. But this really isn't what she calls resistance genealogy. It's just another indication of Trump derangement syndrome.
Sunny Hostin just faced a tough challenge, and it came from none other than Tomi Lahren, known for her bold opinions and no-nonsense style.
I really am happy, though, that she has such a fascination with my family history, and I'm hoping that she will take on Elizabeth Warren's next.
Wow, that would be very interesting.
Sunny Hostin came into the debate with all the usual buzzwords, but things quickly fell apart. Her arguments didn't hold up, and Tomi Lahren didn't hesitate to call them out. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a complete breakdown of Sunny's talking points, and Tomi made sure the flaws were front and center.
Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations.
Let's be honest. Sunny Hostin doesn't really engage in debates. She often turns them into long-winded monologues that leave little room for real discussion.
And has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from...
Sunny Hostin has a way of turning every disagreement into a full-on performance. She often leads with dramatic flair and big declarations, only to follow up with comments that leave even her supporters cringing. Love her or not, moments like these are hard to ignore, and this one's worth sticking around for.
Then with DNA, 23andMe, because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal.
This wasn't just a jumble of words. It was a complete meltdown unfolding right before our eyes.
It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting.
Sunny and the rest of the View panel tried to go head-to-head with Tomi Lahren, but ended up tripping over their own contradictions. And maybe those heels from the Look at Me collection. Tomi? She barely flinched. Instead, she just held up a mirror, and Sunny crumbled like she saw her own worst moment. This wasn't a debate, it was a reality check with a dose of harsh truth.
About you that bothers him so much.
Well, it's not just me, it's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we, on the right, believe in immigration.
Sunny Hostin has built her brand as the intellectual on The View, which is like being the sharpest spoon in a drawer full of bent forks.
We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented.
Her strategy? It's all about using moral high ground, mixed with a dash of elitist eye rolls, and delivered with a tone that practically shouts, "I read the Constitution once, so now I know it all."
Worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge that.
But here's the twist. When someone challenges her to back up her points, it's like watching a goldfish try to explain quantum physics, confused, dramatic, and still flipping her hair as if it's part of the argument.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
It all started when Sunny, predictably, tried to slam conservatives by painting them as mindless rage machines.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
In Sunny's world, anyone who disagrees with Bernie Sanders is just a caveman with Wi-Fi. She sat on the View couch like she was the Thanos of political opinions, ready to snap logic away with a smug look and a rehearsed line. But Tomi? She came prepared, with facts, receipts, and the kind of cool confidence that made Sunny's act crumble. It wasn't even a fair fight, more like bringing a spoon to a knife fight. Sunny started with arrogance, but her arguments quickly collapsed under real evidence. And when Tomi laid out those receipts, it wasn't just a correction, it was a full reveal of Sunny's persona, a mix of performative activism and outrage that only appears when it suits her.
It was a cattle call to come into this nation illegally. And furthermore, this is again the left's attempt at emotional blackmail. And I would just like to state, I don't know if they understand this or not, but if you don't want your family to be broken up when you cross the border illegally.
Let's start with Sunny Hostin's greatest hits, her dramatic monologues about democracy and freedom, all while casually suggesting that anyone who disagrees with her shouldn't have a microphone, a platform, or maybe even the right to speak.
Here's an idea. Don't cross the border illegally. Then your family will surely stay together. I don't know why the left can't think of this, but they would rather try to tell us that we hate families, we want to break up families, we're horrible, we're despicable. No, we want to enforce federal immigration law.
Nothing says defender of democracy like demanding a vibe check before anyone is allowed to speak. It's democracy with a bouncer, and Sunny's the one holding the guest list, drunk on self-importance. But then Tomi Lahren walked in, armed with facts and a smile, exposing Sunny's contradictions like peeling the label off a designer bottle to find box Merlot inside. Sunny fumbled, clutching her pearls like they were the last line of defense. Her confidence plummeted from full blast to complete silence in seconds. After all these years on The View, you'd think Sunny would have a backup plan for when her arguments collapse like a Dollar Tree umbrella in a hurricane. But no, Plan A is smugness, Plan B is louder smugness, and Plan C is cutting to commercial.
I think you've resonated with so many people.
I think, in large part, I represent middle America. So you've got the two coasts, and those individuals seem to kind of just talk to each other. And then you've got all of middle America right there that's dying to have a voice. They don't really feel like they have one.
Now let's talk about how Tomi Lahren exposed Sunny Hostin's tendency to use every marginalized group as a talking point, like she's collecting identity badges to score debate points.
They're not represented, beyond their communities. So I think they watch me and they say, well, she speaks like I do. She thinks like I do. She seems to maybe get it like I do, and I think that's why it's resonated. And also, I do something very different. There's not a whole lot of young conservative women out there, and so I provide that for a lot of young.
For Sunny, identity is like a deck of Pokemon cards. Stack enough labels and boom, you win the argument. Latina, lawyer, victim oracle, part-time Harvard professor of whatever she Googled 5 minutes ago. She doesn't argue, she just flexes her personal resume like it's the final word on truth. The irony? She constantly accuses others of being condescending while delivering every take like a disappointed grad school professor who caught you citing Wikipedia. It's always, we just need to educate people, as if the rest of us learned politics from finger puppets in cereal boxes. And don't even get me started on her obsession with virtue signaling. For Sunny, it's not just a habit, it's a full-time job. She doesn't just think she's right, she believes she's morally superior. Disagree with her, and you must be ethically bankrupt, in desperate need of a 4-minute lecture on daytime TV, seasoned with a smug tone and a sprinkle of New York Times citations.
Sunny fumbled, mumbled, and defaulted to her signature escape hatch, pulling the "as a woman of color" card like it's a debate-ending Uno move. Because in Sunnyland, losing an argument just means it's time to play the identity card and watch accountability disappear like a magician's rabbit. But Tomi, she didn't flinch. She just kept dropping contradiction after contradiction, each one a cold, hard receipt sliding across the checkout belt of truth. And what broke Sunny wasn't just the facts, it was how effortlessly her entire performance got shredded. That smug, pre-packaged outrage she brings to every discussion, it popped like a balloon in a porcupine factory, and watching her scramble to salvage her pride, easily the most unintentionally hilarious reality show moment of the week.
If Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members...
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please,
that's the problem.
Be my guest.
Honestly, look, I will be the first one to say, if there is a criminal, if there's a gang member in this country, someone who has committed any crime, big or small, get him out.
Here's the issue with building a career on smug sound bites and hashtag activism. Eventually, someone's going to fact-check you.
Sure, I'll absolutely concede that. We don't need criminals in this country. But if you're talking about somebody who you don't know because you haven't afforded them due process, then you can't just make that claim.
And when that happens, you'd better have more than just eye rolls, buzzwords, and a library of expressions that scream, "I can't believe I have to explain this to you peasants."
But the fact remains, President Trump is not only securing our border, but he is deporting criminal, illegal aliens. And if Democrats want to stand in the way of that, and they want to tell their constituents, hey, vote for us in the midterms, vote for us in 2028, we'll make sure that the criminal aliens come back, far be it from me to stand in your...
Sunny's whole persona is like an overpriced TED Talk nobody. Asked for, overproduced, underwhelming, and somehow deeply convinced of its own genius. While she sits in her moral penthouse, looking down on the rest of us, the foundation cracks every time she contradicts herself or dismisses dissent. And when someone challenges her who doesn't play by her rules, she crumbles. In the aftermath, Sunny's defenders tried to spin it like she was ambushed or taken out of context, which is hilarious, because if anyone knows how to ambush with passive aggression, it's Sunny herself. The woman practically invented polite venom. You know the kind, the tone where she says, "with all due respect," and then proceeds to eviscerate your entire existence, politely.
I have a question of my own. Do you lock your doors at home? In your residence, do you have a lock on your door? Do you use that lock?
I do, yeah, I do.
Do you have an alarm?
And why is that? I mean, you lock your door because you want to know who's coming into your home.
This time, no amount of polished disdain could save her. Sunny Hostin, the self-anointed intellectual heavyweight of daytime TV, got obliterated without Tomi Lahren even breaking a sweat.
It's not because you hate the people outside, it's because you love the people inside. Well, that's what needs to be done with the United States of America. That's why we have a border. We have a right to know who's coming into our country and why. That's what keeps us safe.
Tomi didn't need to scream, wave papers around, or create trendy buzzwords for X. All she had to do was hold up a metaphorical mirror to Sunny, one that reflected every smug smirk and self-congratulatory head tilt, and let Sunny roast herself into irrelevance. It was a masterclass in letting someone implode under the weight of their own inflated ego. Let's not kid ourselves. This wasn't just a rare slip-up in Sunny's usually composed performance. No, this was the grand finale of a year-long slow burn. Sunny's been crumbling under her own self-importance for so long, you'd think someone would have handed her a hard hat and a warning sign by now. Her political commentary has always been more about showcasing how deeply she feels about the issues than actually discussing them.
There is no correlation between undocumented people and a rise in crime. That's statistically accurate. Immigrants, including undocumented immigrants, are less likely to commit crimes in the United States. So this notion somehow that it's about national security, I think is just false.
Every time Sunny opens her mouth with that classic preamble, what's important to understand is you can almost hear the drum roll of impending nonsense. What follows is never a nuanced analysis or compelling argument. No, it's usually a meandering detour through her moral superiority, sprinkled with enough buzzwords to make a Wordle player throw in the towel. She doesn't inform, she performs. And this time, the audience finally stopped clapping. Enter Tomi Lahren, who didn't need a loud takedown, she simply let Sunny be Sunny. And just like that, it was over before it even began. There were no raised voices, no eye-roll Olympics, no dramatic walk-offs or yelling matches that daytime TV loves to thrive on. Instead, it was a rare, quiet demolition. The kind where someone lights the match, casually walks away, and lets the building collapse under the weight of its own flaws.
You would believe differently.
But you know what, Alyssa, the woman.
But just to understand, are we saying, do we think the vast majority of Americans are racist? That's what I'm trying to help me understand.
I think that there is a significant portion that are racist, and you can't dismiss my lived experience.
Tomi didn't need to go for the jugular. Sunny Hostin was too busy tripping over her own words and contradictions. It wasn't a debate, it was a full-on implosion. All Tomi had to do was sit back, stay calm, and let Sunny talk herself into a philosophical tailspin. Every sentence was a shovel, and Sunny just kept digging. Tomi offered a smug smile here, a raised eyebrow there, maybe a casual, interesting, just to fan the flames. But for the most part, she let Sunny do all the heavy lifting of self-sabotage. The irony? Sunny thought she was on offense. That's the beauty of this train wreck. She truly believed she was delivering a scathing critique, unaware that she was broadcasting her own incoherence to the entire world. Tomi just mirrored it all back. No insults, no interruptions, just a polished mirror reflecting every condescending smirk and logical dead end right back at Sunny. It wasn't a battle. It was a public service announcement. Sometimes the best way to win an argument is to let your opponent keep talking. But don't worry, Sunny will bounce back. She always does. There's always another view segment, another monologue, another day to pretend she's the only sane voice in a room full of people just trying to survive the news cycle without a thesaurus. As for Tomi, she didn't just expose Sunny, she steamrolled her, not with rage or volume, but with the devastating power of coherence. It's a rare and dangerous weapon in the world of televised shouting matches. So next time Sunny gears up for another battle of wits, let's hope she remembers to bring some. Because if this episode proved anything, it's that a podium doesn't make you right, a platform doesn't make you smart, and a smirk doesn't make you invincible, especially when your whole argument crumbles faster than a vegan cookie in. A heat wave. Want more glorious takedowns of media elitism and performative righteousness? Smash that like button so hard Sunny can hear it from her dressing room. And don't forget to subscribe to Celeb Vortex. Unless, of course, you want Sunny. Hostin to personally explain why you're morally bankrupt.